Hey everyone, Reaper here again with another video. This is now comic book haul, I think 52 or 53, something like that. I forget the numbering if I don't have it right in front of me. But anyway, I'm going to go back to classic old school way of presenting comic books so that you can maybe get a little bit of a better close-up of them without so much of a glare, because it's kind of bright in here today. And this is really the only time I have to make a video, so I want to try to get something out this week. So this time, this video is going to be separated by a bunch of different categories. The first category is I'm going to talk about a couple of new figures that I got. Then I'm going to show you some old horror movie stickers that I've been collecting over the last year. And then we'll get into the Raw and CGC books. So I hope you enjoy. So take care and, well, really, stay tuned. Hey everybody, we are now going to start the video. This haul is going to have multiple things to show. I've been neglecting to show some of my recent action figure or Super 7 Thundercat acquisitions, but I also neglected to show some of my horror movie Prism sticker collection. That is, I'll show those first, okay? I'm going to try to remember as these videos and as these hauls move forward to show more of these other things that I get, whether it's stickers, some action figures, video games. I'll throw that all into the same video along with the comics. So I'll put these up a little closer to the camera because you might have trouble seeing them if I put them over here on the easel. But I used to collect in the 1980s vending machine horror movie stickers. I love them. And over the last couple of years, I've been trying to track down all the stickers that I had and the ones that I didn't have. So anyway, this is a die cut version of the Supernaturals movie. It was a movie that came out in the mid-80s. These are all mostly from the 80s, I would imagine. Here's the Hellraiser 2 sticker, Pinhead. There are many different variants, too, of these. And the comics are not the only things with variants. I don't have all the variants, but I have some variants to show you in this video. Now, I'm just showing, just to let you know, I have the ones that I'm showing you in this video are the larger stickers or the die-cut stickers. Okay? There are smaller stickers. I have them in an album, and I'm not going to get those out, but I just figured I'd show these because I have them in these sort of protectors because they don't fit in a regular card/sticker album. So you have Supernaturals, Leatherface, well, it's not Leatherface, Pinhead, which is from Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, Psycho 3, which also has a smaller version, Nightbreed, sorry for the glare, Beetlejuice, Monkey Shines, which also has a smaller version. I don't have it. I always like the bigger versions better. I felt that there was more detail in the bigger versions, and sometimes the artwork on the bigger versions closely resembled the posters of the films, more so than the smaller versions. But maybe I'll do one day a video that shows the smaller versions, but I'm not going to show them now. Critters 2? It's alright. I never really cared for Critters. Deep Star 6. Friday the 13th. Actually, it was the smaller version of this. Now, this comes in different variants. I think just different colors and all that stuff. But this is a larger version. But the smaller version of this one was the sticker that got me involved in collecting these back in the 1980s. I found it on my school's lawn, and I was like, oh wow, they have stickers of horror movies. And then I went to ShopRite one day with my mother, saw the vending machine. It was, I think, a Selectra vending machine, and there I saw that's where you get these stickers. But that's a larger version. Now here are here's a die cut of Return of the Living Dead Part 2. Cool one, right? And then there's a variant that cuts out Part 2. I didn't have this one as a kid. I had that one as a kid. But this one's just bizarre. Just like bizarre looking. The artwork's a little creepier. The cloud that's forming the zombie head looks more sinister, I think, than this one. But it's this one that closely resembles the box art for the film and the poster. Die cut Pinhead. Die cut Evil Dead. I had this one as a kid. It's creepy. When I saw this, I never saw Evil Dead when I was a kid. I knew it from this sticker. I was like, oh wow, that movie must be really scary. And, you know, I saw Evil Dead 2 and I'm looking at it and I'm like, this is not what I expected. I think this is for Evil Dead 2, actually, even though it doesn't say Evil Dead 2 on here. I still don't know what this one's from. Don't know. Sorry. Some sort of pirate, looks like. I don't think it's Goonies. The Predator. Die cut the Predator. Get these. Oop. Let me get these out of the way. We're almost done. This one also has a smaller version, but the larger one's better. Vamp. Remember this movie? It was from 1986 or something like that with Grace Jones. The Blob, the 1988 remake. Now take a look at the blue that's around the word The Blob. Now remember before I mentioned variants. Well, here's another version of it. The blue is lighter. I know it's silly, but these stickers have tons of those type of variants. And the variants that I showed you with the Return of the Living Dead. Here we have one of my favorites. Phantasm 2. Looks just like the box art. I don't think that has a smaller version. Here's another type of Phantasm 2. Never had this as a kid. The pink background and the ball. This one has a smaller version, but the smaller version's not as good. It's a little hard to see. The brain. I heard this. I never saw the movie. I saw clips of it. It appears to be a real cheesy Canadian movie. I'd like to see it, though. Now, the last one is my Freddy Kruegers. These were the stickers that I saw in the vending machine that I just couldn't wait to get. And when I finally got them, it was awesome. But it was this one right here. Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, take a look at the background and the sweater he's wearing. Here's the variant. The background has a darker blue, and the sweater is a darker green. And this one also has a slightly darker green. And a lighter, sort of like a lighter blue in between the first one and the second one in the background. It's crazy. Nightmare on Elm Street 4. Never had this one as a kid. Pretty cool. Never had this one. Now here's another variant of this one. Nightmare on Elm Street 5. Might be a little hard to see, but excuse me. This one I had as a kid. Take a look at Freddy's face. Now see him here. Skin's lighter. Variant. And the last one, those two were die cut, of course, and here's another die cut of Freddy Krueger. So I'm always trying to get more of these. I still don't have all the ones I had as a kid, so I want to get those, and I definitely want to get some others I never had. All right, so that's the sticker collection. Let's move on to these action figures. I'm just going to show 3 of them. So let's go to action figures. All right, let me just remove the easel for a moment. Put it out of the camera way. All right, now I've gotten more Super 7 Thundercat figures than I'm showing here. I'm not going to go over all of them because that could be a video in it itself. But I just want to show you some of the recent purchases. Now here, I'll show at the top. Here we have Lion-O. Now this is the toy version. Now what does that mean, toy version? Well, Super 7, when they released these Thundercat figures, they did a re-imaging of them that very closely resembled the toys that came out in 1985, 1986. But they made them better. I think they made them look better. The molds, all that stuff, it's just awesome. So then when they done with that, they decided to release the toy versions that came out in 1985, 1986, but gave them a Super 7 overhaul. So you can see this Lion-O. Now I don't have the other Lion-O to show you on camera, but this Lion-O looks almost exactly like the LJN Lion-O that came out in 85 or 86, but has the Super 7 sculpts and all the different ways you can move him and all that stuff. But it looks just like the toy version that came out in 85, 86. And here we have, I'll just move him out of the way for now. Here we have Mum-Ra, the toy version of him. Now, as you can see, it looks almost exactly like the toy version that came out way back when. If you see the regular Super 7 version of this character, it looks more like the cartoon. I've always felt that this version of Mum-Ra, the one that came out, the LJN one, looked nothing like the cartoon version. Then, of course, Super 7 a couple years ago released the Thundercats line, and Mum-Ra was one of the first, Mum-Ra the Ever Living. It looks exactly like the cartoon. That's the Mum-Ra I always wanted. But despite that, this looks pretty cool. He looks pretty cool, doesn't he? I think he looks awesome. And let me just show you this now. Let me put Lion-O back on top. I just want to talk about this one. Now, I also like the Silverhawks. Okay? Now, I'm not going to be collecting all the Silverhawks as I am with the Thundercats. There are some that I'll collect. And I have another one that's supposed to be coming, hopefully soon when they restock them. But here we have one of my favorites that I just could not pass by. Monstar. This is the main bad guy of Silverhawks. He's very similar to Mum-Ra, because both series, Thundercats and Silverhawks, I think were made by the same people. So it's basically the same concept, whereas Silverhawks are basically humans in outer space, and Thundercats are just cats on a planet, but have space ties too. But look at this thing. I mean, I know you can't see him that well, it's glare, but trust me, this is awesome. Now, I mentioned earlier, I'm going to wrap this up and we're going to get to the comics in a moment. I mentioned earlier that, yeah, I'm not going to be collecting the Silverhawks the way I'm collecting the Thundercats. Well, why not? They're not cool? No, the sculpts are cool and all that, but I feel that most of them, except for the villains in the Super 7 line are awesome. I think way better than the villain sculpts of the original Silverhawk line, I think by Kenner in '86 or whatever. But I found that the original line, the Kenner, I think they were by Kenner. I think. You could correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But whoever did them, I feel that the actual Silverhawk sculpts, or at least not necessarily, I mean, of course that, the way they move today and the arms bending and all that stuff are far superior to anything that was back in the 80s. But I just thought the figures were cooler looking. Because the Silverhawk figures, if you remember, they were shiny. Yeah, that was the whole thing. They were supposed to be shiny on the cartoon, and they are shiny in the figure. Well, the Super 7 versions, unless they release toy versions like I just showed you with Thundercats, they're matte colored. They're not shining. And to me, that took a lot of the soul out of those figures. And that's just me. Okay, I'm going to put the easel back. I think it's now time for us to get into the last section of this video. You've been watching for 11 minutes. Thank you very much. Now it's time to get to the comics. So here we go. Okay, we're going to start off with some raws, then we'll finish the video with slabs, CGC slabs. This haul, again, it's a lot of upgrades, but it's also a lot of other books that I didn't have in my collection that I'm bringing in. Nothing crazy, but still pretty cool. All right, so let's start out with a Tony Toth, Pre-Code Monster on Instagram. He used to make YouTube videos. He doesn't make YouTubers anymore. He gifted me some books. So let's take a look at them. He gave me this, Spidey Super Stories from the Electric Company. Pretty cool. I never had that. Strange Tales 170, the second appearance of Brother Voodoo. Pretty cool. Giant-Sized Spider-Man and Master of Kung Fu #2. Nice. Here's a modern book. I believe this is the Ice Cream Man. I don't remember what number it is, so please forgive me for that. But it's a cover homage to, oh man, what was that L.B. Cole cover? Was it Startling or something like that? Suspense. You can correct me in the comments. I had it and I don't remember it. I mean, I had it in my head. I never had the actual book, but I don't remember it. But that's what this is an homage to. Pretty cool. Ice Cream Man. I never really got into Ice Cream Man, but I hear it's pretty cool. He also gave me this one. Now, this one, I believe it's, oh my God, what's the name? It's not Indian Warriors. It looks like it, what is this, Indian Warriors? No, I think it's something White Horse or something like that, or Black Horse or whatever it is. But pretty cool Golden Age book. I've never heard of this series before, but it's nice to see. Let me see if I can straighten this out so you can see it more. But the last one, the absolute last one, this is something I'd like to get an upgrade for. Last one that I really am happy about. As you know, I've been upgrading a lot, but I've started to get into some other pre-code books, particularly Atlas. I've been getting to some other series, but mainly Atlas. And this is the first time I ever saw this book right here, this copy that Tony gave me. It was actually the first copy, the first time I ever saw this cover. And it was Tony that started to get me into this. Here we have Journey into Mystery 16. Cool Vampire Transformation cover. I know this is one of Tony's favorite covers, or at least one of his favorite, if not his favorite, transformation cover. Super cool. This was the actual copy that introduced me to this cover, and now it's in my collection. So thank you very much, Tony. But this is definitely a book. It's just so cool with the black cover and the art that I would like to upgrade one day down the line. All right, so let's get into some other books. I saw this online. This is a Charlton book. It has some Steve Ditko art, Mysteries of Unexplored Worlds. Okay, pretty cool. I try to get this book every time I see it. I like the background. I like the look of it. It's a gray tone cover. It's House of Mystery number 93. Robot cover, gray tone cover, really nice. And this is another book the other book I get whenever I see it. I got this from my friend Mike. I finally got a nice 6.0 copy of Black Hawk 117. This is a Mr. Freeze prototype. And this is not a bad prototype book. You know, a Mr. Freeze, this is not the Mr. Freeze that would go on to fight Batman. That was Mr. Zero. They pretty much just gave Mr. Zero this guy's name. But they're very similar. Uses a gun to freeze people, and the name, so obviously something that later on the late 60s was used to rename the Mr. Zero character. Obviously stuck. So as far as prototype issues, this is not bad. And one last thing about this book. It's hard to find in mid-grade or even higher. I mean, a lot of the books I've had were 4.0s and even below that. So I get them when I see them, but I wanted to get a very nice copy of it, and I'm pretty happy with this. New to the collection, Uncanny Tales 13. Like I was saying, I've been getting into some Atlas. Here we have Mystic number 34. Here is another copy of Mystic 28, nice 3.0 copy. It's got a subscription crease and a little piece out, but other than that, it's a pretty cool book. This is another book that I would like to get a higher grade. I wouldn't mind getting a 6.0 in Mystic, and then I'll get rid of this copy. But yeah, great Joe Maneely cover. Now, before I move on to the last few Raw books, let me talk a little bit about this. Joe Maneely, that was the cover artist. He did a lot of good work for Atlas in the 50s. Stan Lee was said to mentioned Joe Maneely that if he had not died, he would have been one of the artists of the Marvel Silver Age, along with Steve Ditko, John Romita, and who recently passed away, sadly, and Jack Kirby. Because Joe Maneely was a good artist, he was reliable, and he was fast like Jack Kirby, that he was able just to draw and get these things out. So what happened? Well, he passed away. I don't remember what happened, what year he passed away, but I believe he passed away in the late 50s. I think due to a train accident or something like that, some type of traffic accident. So it's pretty sad that happened, that this guy did not get a chance to move from the Atom Age, so to speak, into Marvel Silver Age, because who knows what he would have been drawing. Maybe he would have drew Iron Man. Maybe he would drew Doctor Strange. Who knows? Okay. Last three. And upgrade. I have a nice 5.0 copy of Haunted Fear number 16. I was glad I was able to upgrade it. Headless cover. Pretty cool. And the last two are books that are, very low grade, no doubt. But again, you don't see them often. And when you see them, you got to get them. So I was managed to pick up a Strange Tales, right? Speaking of Marvel, right? This was Strange Tales. This is the series that would eventually introduce us to Doctor Strange. Strange Tales number 23. Pretty cool cover. Low grade, probably a 1.5. I'll talk about low grades in a moment when I show the last Raw book, because this is also a very low grade. This is probably like a 1, which is very rare for me to get. I usually don't get that low of a grade. But again, these books, some of these, especially this one, you just don't see it. And when you see it, you just got to get it. And just wait for another copy to come around. So here's one of my favorite Atlas pre-code horror covers outside of EC. Men's Adventures number 26. Midnight in the Morgue. I don't think it's certainly not a famous pre-code Atlas like some others, or pre-code horror covers. One of the pre-code horror covers, but it's really cool to me. And this is definitely a book I want to upgrade. And look at it. It's just awesome. I read the story too. I just enamored with it. But this is like a 1. It's complete. All that stuff. So some people say low grade better. Well, it's better low grade than no grade. I'm not saying that with this. What I'm saying is that these are placeholders. These are placeholders that when a better grade or better deal comes along for me, I will get them and these will be sold. But these are books, as I say, placeholders that are going to stay in my collection throughout the upgrades. There are some books that I have in my collection that I've gotten rid of, that I will get rid of, that I have no intention of bringing back. There are some books I've done that too. They're not what I call placeholders, but the books that I just showed you are definitely placeholders. So now let's get to the CGC books. And I know you've been watching for about 19, 20 minutes now, so thank you. Please bear with me. So the first 3 actually are books that I got back from CGC. I submitted this one back in December, and I got it maybe a few weeks ago. We have Nintendo Power #1. I got a 6.0 on it. I'm not happy with that grade. I thought that this was going to get about a 7. You know, this is a book that I've had since 2000. I got it off of eBay with all the early Nintendo Powers. So I'm going to be submitting those too over the next year. Nintendo Power 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I want to get those all on graded. They're some of them are in better shape than this one, but I thought this was in pretty good shape. But apparently it's only a 6. Complete, all that stuff, poster, the registration, whatever the hell it is, the player's poll card. You know, you got to be careful with those old Nintendo Powers. Sometimes the posters are removed, or the player's poll. What is it again? It's not registration. Subscription inserts and all that stuff are removed. A lot could go wrong, but those are all complete. But I got this along with the others back in the fall of 2000. That was when I was getting all these wrestling magazines that I loved and these old Nintendo Powers that I had when they came out. I had this when this first came out. I remember when I got the Nintendo back in '88, there was an advertisement that came in, an insert with the Nintendo, that Nintendo Power magazine was coming out. My mother said, "Oh, you want this magazine? You're not going to get it until it comes out, probably in the fall." I said, "Yeah, sure." I forgot about it, and then this issue came. Not this particular copy, but I had all those books, and they were all destroyed over the years. So back in 2000, when I was really introduced to eBay in '99, I was buying old Coliseum Video WWF tapes, you know, because they were expensive back then, and you couldn't find them. So eBay provided like this whole new frontier to get these things. So a year later, I said, maybe they have some of these Nintendo Powers that I want, wrestling magazines, WWF magazines, and I started just getting magazines left and right. And I've had this ever since. So, and I had a couple of these. I sold them over the years, and I sold one recently. But this was always the best one. I kept it, the best version of this #1. But yeah, not too pleased with the 6.0. I thought I was going to get just a little bit higher, but oh well, it is what it is, right? Here's another book that came back from CGC. Now this wasn't Captain Britain #8, first appearance of Betsy Braddock, who becomes Psylocke. I had this sent in. I sent this in for a reholder. This is not a book that I had raw or anything like that. I knew it was an 8.0, but I felt that the original case was kind of flimsy, so I sent it in. And it took a while to get this back. I got this back about maybe a few weeks before the Nintendo Power, but they were very close in time when I got them back. So it's nice to have it back. And the last submission was Spawn 174. And I submitted 2 of them. I had one come back a 9.6. I sold it. And this one was a 9.8. I guess this is my keeper. So it's nice to have a 9.8 copy of the first full appearance of the Gunslinger Spawn. Pretty cool, right? All right. Now let's get to some other books. Now this is a brand new book in the collection. Another book I bought from my friend Mike. Maybe 2 months ago. I saw it that he was selling this. I was like, oh my god. It's a pre-code by Master Publications. Dark Mysteries #16. I saw this cover. It's a hanging cover. Let me see if I could get it. You can't really see it that far. See a little bit better? If I put it a little closer, you're going to get a little too much glare. But I saw this cover. I was like, oh my god, I got to get that. That is just so cool. And I did. Okay, we have an upgrade here. We've got a couple upgrades coming up. We have Haunt of Fear number 6. I had a raw copy of this with a piece out on the top. It was still a very nice looking book, but because that piece was out, it was probably just a 3.0. But, I was meaning to upgrade it, and then this one came along for a really good price, nice 4.5, which is cool for me. It's a very nice looking copy, front and back, and I went with it. And so it's a nice upgrade. Those early haunts, those single digit haunts, are sometimes not rare, but sometimes a little hard to come by. Now here's another upgrade I got from Tales from the Crypt. That one that I was really trying to find, and I was just waiting for the right copy to come along. And I really don't need too many upgrades from Tales from the Crypt. I need an upgrade to my Crypta Terra 17, which is like a 2530, and I probably could use another Tales from the Crypt 34, the Frankenstein one, but we'll see. I think that's like a 3540, but I could use a 5 on that. But anyway, I had a 3.0 copy of Tales from the Crypt number 25, managed to upgrade to a nice 6.5. It's nice to finally get this. It took a while for me to find a nice copy that I was pleased with, but it came along. Here we have another upgrade. I've had 3 copies of this book over the last year. Vault of Horror, the glare, it's a 6.0. Sorry, I'm just seeing that right now. You get too much of the glare. Vault of Horror number 14, 6.0. I had a 2.0 raw, and then I got a 3.5 raw to replace that 2.0. And then I was waiting. I passed on a couple Vault of Horrors. I passed on a couple 6.0s and 6.5s because I thought that what they were asking the sellers was ridiculous. I was like, there's no way this book is worth that much. I know it's hard to come by. And I understand that sometimes people, when a book is hard to come by, they're willing to pay a little bit more. I've been in that situation before, and I'll probably be in that situation again. But for this book, I wasn't ready. It just didn't feel right. I didn't want to do it. So I missed out on a couple opportunities, and this one popped up for the price that I wanted to pay, and here we have it. Pretty cool, right? Or at least I think so. A few more books, so just bear with me. I know we're almost going to be pushing to a half hour, so here's another upgrade. Vault of Horror. Vault of Horror 13. This one's kind of hard to get. I managed to get a 5.5. I've had, I had 1, 2, 3 copies of this before this. I'll give you a little story about it. There's not much of a story to this copy. I saw 5.5. I was like, oh wow, this is the type of grade that I've been looking for at the price I'm looking for, so I bought it. That's the end of the story. But when it comes to the upgrade of Vault of Horror 13, which was a pain in the ass to do, it really was. The first one I got was about 4 or 5 years ago. I got it off of Metropolis, who can't grade, worth a shit. But, I knew that buying the book, and it was probably like a 2.5 copy. Okay, whatever. So about a year ago, I upgraded to a 3.5, which was fine, but it just wasn't satisfied with it. So last October, I believe it was, Heritage had either a 5.5 or a 6.0 come up on auction. And I read the description. I made sure I read it. And it's fine. Everything's fine. It was raw, but everything's fine. And I won it. And I paid a bit of a premium, but not that much of a premium, to be quite honest, for that grade at that time, even for right now. So I won it. Very happy. Got it. I'm looking, and I got it. I'm like, oh my God, this is so beautiful, this book. And then I'm looking at it. I'm saying to myself, wow, this really has a glossy cover, doesn't it? And then I'm opening it up, and I notice that this book is reglossed. And on top of that, it had color touches, and the cover was glued, parts of the cover were glued to the first wrap. And I was like, oh, no wonder it looks so good. It was restored. So I went back to the listing, and I'm like, did I not read this? Did I not comprehend what was right in front of me? Looked it over and over again, thinking that I missed something, right? Because obviously I probably missed something. I didn't miss anything. It never said it had a parent on it. So I wound up getting my money back. And the search continued for this. And this is where I'm at. So that's the story of Vault of Horror number 13. The years of trying to, or at least the 2022, the crazy year of trying to actually upgrade that thing. 2 more books, and then we'll be done. Here's another nice upgrade. Avengers number 57. I upgraded to a nice 7.5. I had a 5.0. Some of you may watch my channel, you know the story. I had a 5.0 copy, raw copy back in 1993, 1994. I just threw it in a drawer, looking at it, and one day I'm saying to myself, is this like the first appearance of Vision? And yeah, it was, and then I put it in a bag, and that was that. But this book has calmed down. A lot of books have calmed down. It's like crazy. Fine for me, because I'm upgrading and getting books that I want that I wasn't able to get when 2021, early 2022. This was one of them that really went down and upgraded. Now the last book, I also have a bit of another rant here with CGC, even though I complained about the 6.0 I got. I'm going to complain a little bit about this one. My battery's running low on the computer, so I can't complain that long. Here we have The Thing 15, classic cover by Steve Ditko. It's just absolutely beautiful. For a 3.5, it presents very well. It's really nice. Even that Dark Mysteries that I showed you, Dark Mysteries 16, my 3.5s that I've been getting over the last few months of the pre-codes outside of EC, they're actually pretty solid looking 3.5s, you know? But anyway, 3.5 copy of The Thing 15, classic Steve Ditko cover. I love it, I wanted it, and I got it for what I want to pay for it. So what's the rant? My rant is with CGC. My rant is that this doesn't say classic cover on it. Because I think anybody that knows anything about this book and pre-code would agree that this is a classic cover by Steve Ditko. This is about 9 years before he was doing Amazing Spider-Man, years before he was doing his superhero stuff. And I think this book, at least, you know, has the potential to draw in superhero fans. You know, sometimes superhero fans and pre-code horror fans don't mix because some people only have resources for one. And both will take quite a few resources to gather and to have nice books. So usually I found that fans usually stick with the superhero books. Quite understandable. But I think this book, because it was done by Ditko, because of the great artwork on it, because it was done by an artist that is responsible for co-creating one of the most popular superheroes of all time, and some argue one of the best artists for that superhero of all time, this has potential to draw those fans in. And all those things, and all the things I said, the cover, the artist, and the fact that CGC doesn't say classic cover. I mean, I don't get that. Again, like I was saying at the beginning of this conversation about this book, for any pre-code fan, they know this book. And they, I think, would agree with me that this is a classic cover, Ditko or not. And that's it. So that's my haul, everybody. Thank you for sticking with me for a half hour. I know I ramble on a little too much. It was a big haul. Hopefully, you'll come around again. I have a couple other videos coming out other than hauls, so hopefully you'll come around and hang out again. Until then, take care, everybody.